Okay, I think we're started. All right. First off, I got to say, Jonathan, thank you so much. Can I call you Jonathan or John or Roto?
Jonathan or Roto, whatever. Most people call me Jonathan in the hobby. They call me Roto, so you pick.
Okay. So you are from Roto Breaks or Roto. So you're a breaking company and Roto Box is the repack business that you have, right?
Correct. Yes.
Awesome. And you're the what president owner?
Most of it, but
You're most. Okay. So I kind of went straight into it because I can't believe I appreciate so much the ability to jump on short notice. So this is the Card Diary by Hobbyist Thompson. I'm the host, Denny Cards. Uh, I won't do the whole intro thing right now because I want to dive right into this.
yeah,
Repacks are such a hot topic in the hobby right now. They're just it seems like there's something every week or every day and all that stuff. And so, right now a big light is shined on repacks, and there's some good and maybe not so good things being talked about. What I want to do in this, however much time we have here to talk about it is, first let's get into your hobby journey, like just your background, and then I would love to kind of go from, there's that concept in restaurants, farm to table, like
oh yeah,
going I want to go from comp to table. I want to go
okay,
from buying to packing to shipping and ripping and all that stuff because I'm so fascinated with this area of the industry. So,
sure,
welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. Um, Especially with such short notice. So, can you kind of talk to me about like your hobby journey thus far?
sure. For those who aren't familiar with me, I'm been around a while, but I'm not Rich Layton or anything. So a lot of people don't know who I am. So I've been in the hobby since I was a child. Got my first pack of cards in 1987. So before a lot of people listening were probably alive, but that was my first foray. I got a pack from my parents, 1987 tops. I was hooked. Collected all through childhood, of course, so many of us did, and then high school, college, kind of got out of it, and then entered the workforce, and then moved. You get older, you get bored, you start to get back into stuff. So around 2014, 2015, found my way into a hobby shop and bought some Bowman, which was kind of what I was attracted to. Really liked the prospects. I was very interested in following Yankee prospects. In 2013, Aaron Judge had just been drafted. I was pretty excited about him, so I wanted to find some cards of him. So was just collecting, and then around 2016, I learned what breaks were. Started watching them. Accumulated a pretty good group of friends, and we were like, hey, why don't we just do one of these like together? And so we wanted to get a case of 2016 Bowman's Best. That was the first product I ever did, and basically I was kind of just nominated to open it because one of us had to, because we were all in different parts of the country. So I got the case, created Roto Breaks on Facebook, which was I didn't intend to be in the business. We just wanted to open a case, and then yeah, we did one, did another. People started joining the group, and then in 2017, I had accumulated way too many cards from Razes and stuff like and breaks that I'd gotten in, stuff like that, and that was when I kind of got the idea of Roto Box, which was our a repack as we know them today. At the time, I didn't really, there wasn't a lot to compare it to. I was just like, well, what if I took my own cards and put them in boxes, and then just figured out what they were worth, and figure out a price and do a break that way. And people liked it, and so I kept doing it. Fast forward to now, it's that's what I do.
So, would you? I mean, I don't know if you would say this, but are you the like the father or godfather of repacks?
No,
Do you know who
no.
is?
Well, at the time, so Leaf was doing like best of at that time, so it existed. Hit Parade started kind of around the same time as
Mhm.
me. Obviously, they're a bit more well funded than we were at the time, being coming from Dave and Adams. Who I like Dave and Adams a ton, and then there was I guess my main rival at the time it was, I don't know if he still does it even, but AP Boombox was kind of but his stuff was a little different. He had a little more memorabilia involved in his, but I was definitely an early adopter. I don't want to. I'm not
Gotcha.
not the Godfather, but I tried some things that nobody had really tried before, and some were successful, some weren't, and
Okay.
um, I certainly, I guess, laid the groundwork for or some of the groundwork for
Cool.
what's going on
All
today.
right.
I
So
would say.
maybe you're like a great uncle,
There we
perhaps.
go. Yeah, yeah.
All
Not the
right.
Godfather,
So
unfortunately.
so you started the breaks in 2016. You started the repacks in 2017, which I did not know about.
Yep.
I mean, well, actually, before I get to comps, because you were telling me how you were trying to assess the value of the boxes back then.
Sure.
When you said you and your friends were all around the country, like where are you currently based out of? Where were you based out of back then?
Mhm.
And did you all meet online, basically?
Yeah, so we all met online. So currently, I'm in the Phoenix area in Arizona,
Okay.
and at the time, and basically where I'm from is Columbus, Ohio. So I was kind of central, was um, and so when I started collecting again and had gone to the LCS to buy cards, I was accumulating a lot, and I was basically just looking for ways to trade. That was so that's how I found my way into the Facebook groups. And so
Mhm.
you start to kind of in these Facebook groups, they're not as popular as they were back then, with the advent of Loop and whatnot and everybody. So now people kind of go there to congregate, but back then there were no apps like that other than Breakers TV, which was different. And then of
Okay.
course YouTube. But so so you meet people in the groups, and you find
Mhm.
people, you do deals with them, you get comfortable with them, you start to
Yeah.
chat. This guy, my buddy here is a Cubs fan. He's back in 2016, we're chasing Schwarbers and Bryant's. If I get a nice one, I want to trade him for a Judge or a Jeter or something that I might like. And so yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I just met him from all over the country, and that's the beauty of the internet. So
Oh man, Chris Bryant had the potential to be the Kobe Bryant of baseball, but just couldn't get there. I mean, but
yeah.
he was really hot back then, right? Really hot prospect.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, at the time he was
Yeah,
the guy. It was
yeah,
Harper and Harper and Bryant,
yeah.
and that was it. Like if you got a Harper or Bryant, like that was peak. But
That's awesome.
yeah,
Um,
Harper's never recovered. He has like one mediocre year and nine of the best years we've ever seen. But that mediocre year is all they remember.
yeah. So before I get into kind of like the comp, well, actually, let's do it right now. What were you using at that time to comp cards? Because I don't know when 130 point came out, and all the apps we have nowadays. I don't want to say them all because they're not sponsors of this show. So
Yeah. Well, the one that I primarily use definitely isn't a sponsor of this show because I don't even think they're around anymore. But Card Snoop used to be kind of the predecessor um, to 130 point or any of those. So Card Snoop was mainly, and then a little bit of like Terra Peak. I forget when that kind of came around, and then you got VCP for vintage stuff. But yeah, back then, Card Snoop. When Card Snoop died, that was a tough day. I was a big fan. Card Snoop got me through through a lot
wow,
of.
that's interesting. I thought, I mean, because I don't know when the Beckett magazine became like less pertinent, maybe around the advent of like uh, you know, I don't want to say like the start of the internet, but like it just became less reliant on, right? So
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
maybe around the early 2010s it would have been Beckett, but actually, I was in the hobby in 2007 to 2012. What did I use? I feel like maybe I did see some Beckett's around. I saw some online stuff. I don't I don't I you know what? I think I might have been on some oh my gosh, they say don't go down rabbit holes you can't get yourself out of, but I don't what I think I did was there was this website called Sports Card Forum, and people
Mhm.
would list prices of things and just buy, like they would just kind of I don't know where they got those numbers, but if I was buying a card at 30, and definitely at that time I was not doing any flipping, but I remember thinking, "Oh, maybe if that's what they want and we can negotiate a little bit, that the end value is 25 or something, right?" Just so I
Right.
and if I wanted to trade, I would get one of my cards that was like I think like from the same set but a different player. I mean, I just feel like trading back then was so much more certainly like maybe um I mean, it's all unregulated, but what am I trying to say here? It's more like within sport, within sets, within products. I think that's the type of trading that I remember doing back in that
Sure.
time.
Yeah, like set building type stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was yeah, it wasn't as there was no, apps that we could go on. I mean,
Yeah.
there was nothing. We were, you just kind of had to do your best and try and be yeah.
Yeah, right?
uh,
Yeah. It really was
yeah,
a do your best type of situation.
everything should be, and it still should be a do your best
Yeah,
situation, right?
right.
But we have a little more tools to kind of fine tune the accuracy, I guess.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so before we get into kind of like the comp to table aspect of things, because I'm really glad we went down the comp rabbit hole a little bit because Card Snoop, wow, that's
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
real
But
ones know, Denny.
the real oh man, I'm just such a poser. I'm a poser. When it comes to that first pack you got in 1987, you were in Columbus, Ohio. So I'm trying to figure out what are the I love talking about regional grocery stores. I won't do it here too much, but where were you? Like you were with your mom, you like got good grades and you guys were what at like a Kroger's or something like that or
No,
Albertsons?
I actually wasn't in Columbus at the time.
Okay.
I actually do remember it. We were at the Base Exchange in Jacksonville, North Carolina. My father was in the
Mm.
Marine Corps,
Ah,
and so we were in Jacksonville. And I remember we were we were checking out, and they were by the checkout. So this was at like
mhm.
kind of the military like convenience store,
Like a
basically.
commissary?
Yeah, it wasn't the commissary, but then you got the exchange, was kind of like it was like a smaller
Oh,
version
okay,
of it.
okay, okay.
And so and so yeah, there was just packs there, and they had baseballs on them. And I remember it was green, and it had a big baseball on it, and
Mhm.
I was 5, and
Oh,
I said, "What's this?" And they bought me one. Back then it was what, quarter, 50 cent, I don't know. I
yeah,
mean, they
right.
weren't much. So
Yeah.
I got one, opened it up, there was a Don Mattingly right on top. So
Oh,
now
yeah.
I was already a Yankees fan at that time, just because my grandpa was. So I had
Wow.
like Yankees t-shirts. And then yeah, I got Don Mattingly. I was so excited, there was a Yankee on top. And then I chewed the gum, and that was that.
Chewed the gum. And so you went from Mattingly, Jeter, Judge. You're just a Yankee through and through, huh?
Yep, yep, pretty much. Although I don't know, I was now that I live in Phoenix, it was hard to not. It was hard to not. Once the Yankees were, what they were this year, which was terrible and disappointing. It was hard to not get swept up in the Diamondbacks
Oh yeah,
fever.
their run. Right, absolutely.
So it
Yeah.
was. So I was certainly a fan of them throughout the playoffs. But yeah, Yankees
Amazing
through and through.
run, amazing star player. Seems like a really nice guy. He's half Taiwanese apparently. Corbin Carroll is.
Real quick, and so I got to meet him last year at the Tops conference, right?
Okay.
And just he was so nice, it really caught me off guard. Like so what Tops does is they let you line up and you can meet the player. So
Hmm.
this year it was Carroll. Previous year it was J Rod. So they're hitting pretty hard.
Oh yeah.
So I go up to meet, Corbin Carroll, and I had just recently moved to Phoenix, and I was like, hey, nice to meet you. You shake the hand, and I said, yeah, I'm excited to watch you play this year. I live around here, and what I expect is just like, oh yeah, hopefully we'll see you there, just something like that. And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, what part of town do you live in? And I told him, and he's like, is that out east, out west? And I said, it's out east. And he's like, so how far away is that from here? And like, he carried on this conversation. He's like, where do you like to eat out there? Do you enjoy the community? Do you have any kids? I'm like, dude, I was just expecting a quick, interaction and him to brush me off, and he started like a 3-minute conversation with me about where
And
I live in the Phoenix area, and I
and
was
now
just
he's
like,
your
dude,
best
you're cool.
friend, and you're
Yeah.
you're gonna be the best man at his wedding. Corbin Carroll,
we,
shout out to you, man.
we didn't
Awesome.
stay in touch, but it was just, yeah, he was so nice. It was shocking. Like,
That's so
I'm not
awesome.
used to people caring anything. You meet an
'Cause-
athlete or
Yeah,
celebrity,
don't meet
normally they're polite and move you
right.
along.
Right, the whole "don't meet your heroes" type of thing. But that's a really cool story. Yeah, he was at the Topps Rip Night stuff in Arizona, and I think he seems to be one of those types who really does like the hobby and the
Hmm.
people in it, because I think there's definitely some athletes who are like, oh, these people just want to commoditize monetize my signature and my autograph, and
Right.
I do it out of obligation, and I don't really want to do this, but my agent told me to, and this and that, and I like it just for the money. But again, whether it is a facade or not, some of the folks, they really are like they're here for not just the monetary gain, which I'm sure is helpful to them, but like it's more of like I want to ingratiate myself to my fans and the collectors.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see it. I like, and it makes me root for him. I'm like, man, that guy was like genuinely nice to me, and
Yeah.
when he won Rookie of the Year, I was super super excited. I know it. It his character. It's all character, and
Oh man,
hey,
don't we got it. I'm gonna say we have to stop talking about this, not because we have to move the podcast along, but because I don't
sure.
want to start collecting him. You're making me like him too much. And look, I'm wearing the Nationals a hoodie because it's cold in the basement here, but I gotta say, yeah, I really like those the good character, nice dudes in sports, and
And I think he's
you know,
underpriced. He's a good buy.
he's like, yeah, okay, maybe I will have to buy him one thing. All right, just another lane for me to collect.
There you go.
My Corbin Carroll. So, if you're listening to this, Corbin, thank you.
He probably
So,
is.
actually, can I ask you? You seem so. Again, we're gonna get into the. See, I'm not. Look, I'm not a great podcast host. I may not ask everything that people want me to ask. I definitely have some questions from Instagram, and we'll get to all those things. But I mean, have you? You've been around the hobby for a while. Is this your first podcast? We didn't even talk about that before I started pressing record.
No, I've been on a few.
Okay.
I'm in the process of we've been trying to do our own. It's just, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to do it, but I've tried my own. I've been on a few.
Okay.
This is the first time I think to specifically discuss repacks and
Got it.
and all of the the hot button issues in the industry right now. But yeah, no, I've
Yeah.
been on a couple. But
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on this one. Let's get right into the repacks. I'm not going to do this whole intro about them. I did make a reel talking about it, and I think got some good engagement. People are. My main point was like breakers. They're good repackers, they're bad repackers.
sure.
And the good ones are good for the hobby. The bad ones are bad for the hobby. That's the way I see things. A lot of things in life. I mean, we can't
Sure.
just lump people into one big old group and say they're all evil or they're all wonderful. So you've done it for a while. You've seen almost like an evolution. You've used old comp tools. You're using the new comp tools. You've seen the repack business from its infancy,
Hmm.
um, and so uh, let's start with the buying process, because I think this is the part that the most questions came from, and it's the most interesting part, right? Because
Hmm.
I made that content because someone who really moves the needle, Chad Blesnick, talked about how repackers, they're coming in, they're swooping into these shows, and they're buying at 95% comps or whatever it is. And so I guess I wanted to ask you the first thing when it comes to the buying process. Where are you buying your cards? Um, what percentage comps are you looking for? Are you getting volume discounts, or are you paying close to comps because you're buying for repackaging these cards?
Sure. I mean, there's different. There's different mentalities on it, I guess. And what Bless said. I mean, I find Bless to be extraordinarily entertaining as a human being. I think I don't his video sucked, if you ask me, because like on the one hand, yes, like I do think that there is definitely there needs to be accountability, and there's definitely needs to be a discussion. However, um the platform that he has a lot of followers because of his antics, I guess would be the best way I would describe it. I think he has a responsibility to be a little more um accurate, I guess, in what he's saying, because and a little less hypocritical. I mean, they're
Mm,
it, the Blez does a repack,
right,
which
right, right.
S Blez posted a video about coincidentally today, and I know everything that the Blez brothers kind of do is
Mm,
a very strategic marketing blitz. I think that they're very intelligent. I
mm,
don't think it's any coincidence that Blaz puts out a video saying,
mm-hmm,
damning repacks
mm-hmm.
the day before, or 2 days before, gets all this discussion going around repacks, and then all of a sudden, S Blaz is coming out. Hey, all other repacks suck. Come buy
Uh,
ours.
the
Uh, uh,
strategery.
yeah, it's smoke and mirrors. So fall for it, don't fall for it. But the good thing that I do think did come out of it is that he got the discussion going, and no publicity is bad publicity, they say, and it gives me an opportunity to come and talk to someone. People aren't like banging down my door to have conversations with me about what I've been doing for the past 7 8 years and
Mhm,
have a lot of knowledge about. But it is nice to have that opportunity to discuss it. So so thanks, C Blez, for making the video. Now that said, yes, there are repackers that go out and they just pick what they want, and they'll pay 95% comps, and that's that. But there's more to it than that. Even I would be remiss to say we never would pay that strong on a card. But basically, I look at repack as, or the repacks that we make, as kind of like a almost like a mosaic, or like a puzzle. Like, what's missing from this, and the need for that particular item is going to dictate how strong we are paying. So, as a general term, basically, and we've been doing this for years, we try to purchase around the 70 to 75% net mark,
mhm,
versus what are determined to be fair comps. So 70 to 75% comp. If we're building a product that let's say it's designed for wholesale, if we're able to then sell it wholesale at even comp, we're still making 25 to 30%.
mhm.
The breaker is essentially getting their full value for what they're paying, and then their breaking is a service, it's entertainment. There's a lot that goes into it, and there should be uh, an understood kind of premium that you're paying for that.
Mhm.
You're tuning in with nothing to do. You're watching someone talking to themselves for 3 4 5 6 7 hours, you know, opening it, putting on a show for you. They need to make some money too. So, uh, you know, sh- should I be selling the repacks to that breaker at 150% comps? Of course not. And if anybody is, then that product should die quickly. It
Mhm.
will die quickly. So, but I think the generalization that Blaz made, that repackers are just going to shows and just saying, "Give me everything I want, and I will pay you 95% of comp."
Yeah.
Nobody is doing that. Nobody is doing that.
Okay.
It's
So,
it's
where
not.
do you have buyers, or are you the one personally going out to shows? Like I know there's some really great shows out in the Phoenix, Arizona, or the Arizona general area. Like
Yeah. We've got Burbank obviously has become a huge operation. Now they're
yeah,
doing it twice a year. So, go to Burbank, Del Mar, and then Vegas. There's the shows in Phoenix. So there's a lot of shows around me. And then I do have a silent partner, a very good friend of mine who's been basically involved in making these with me since the beginning. So, he lives out in Florida, so we got the East Coast covered that way, and then I'm out here on the West Coast. So
mhm,
we do a lot of purchasing at shows. The National obviously is a huge buying opportunity for us. A lot of people trying to liquidate there, but I can assure you, we're not. We don't. It's very rare that we would pay 90% on anything because we just don't need to. Um, because we want to provide a better value, and we make our margins on the buying side.
yeah,
I don't make margins on the selling side. It's just, uh, and it's a little bit double dipping when we make our own and break our own. And I understand kind of a conflict there. But yeah, I mean, it's just I think that part needed to be addressed. It's pretty inaccurate. I mean, he just doesn't
yeah.
know where he's either doesn't know what he's talking about, or he's just creating an argument.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, I really appreciate you saying where you buy from. So you are buying from the regional shows and local shows too, to an extent.
shows
Do you
are
have a
shows
t
are
do you have
key. Shows are
shows are
key, and
key?
then also, we've got I like I said, I started in Facebook groups back in 2016,
Facebook group.
2017. So we've
Yeah.
got, people know that I do this, so I've got a pretty steady network of people who
Okay.
bring me stuff. They know what I make, they know what I need, they know what I'm looking for. So when they're prepared to sell it at the discount I need to buy it at, they come to me with it, and it's pretty easy.
So these folks, when you say they come to you, they're
Mhm.
not like physically, geographically coming to you. Like they're all over the country. So they're mailing it. They're sending you pictures, and then they're shipping it to you, and then you PayPal. You send the money that way, like
Yeah,
that.
pretty much. You try and
Okay.
develop the relationships. I mean, we've done in-person deals. You want to meet up at this place because it's, a
Hmm.
little more substantial, or maybe somebody actually wants like cash for it for whatever reason.
Hmm.
But generally, yeah, it's just messenger, text, email, whatever. They'll,
Okay.
send me the spreadsheet. I go through, comp it out. We work out the price, and
And do you have like a network of buyers, or are you like you, Jonathan, the one going to these shows, traveling around and all that?
no, it's myself, and then I've got kind of, I guess, my president of operations, I guess you could call her. She comes with me to some shows, and
Awesome.
then I've got my partner who prefers to remain nameless, so I'm not
I will. Yes, for those listening on audio, the silent partner is not behind him like Silent Bob and just kind of like
yeah.
staring at the screen, like or anything like
No,
that.
he's over there.
Oh,
He's
he
just
is. Okay, he's in the corner.
no,
Okay.
I'm just kidding. He doesn't.
So, before we move on to like the packaging and like
Mhm,
the floor and ceiling and case hits and all this stuff, when you do comps for these
mhm,
shows, there's so many different ways to comp. I think a lot of people, the easiest, or AKA to me like the laziest, but again, it's what a lot of people do, is you just like the last eBay sold. And it doesn't have the eBay sold, right? Like auction house or last sold. There's no averaging of the last few. The last one, for some people, it has to be within a month. We know that there are things called commodity cards that transact almost on a weekly or even daily basis. So they're
mhm.
so easy to like, and they're almost like stocks, right? They go up and down, like
Sure.
very, very much with the market and player performance. And then there are cards that just don't transact often at all, whether they're low numbered or just rare or just rarely traded, because
Mhm.
they go into people's houses, and they just don't come out because people love those players or those cards.
Yeah.
So I guess I wanted to ask you, how do you guys generally do comps?
Here's the thing about comps in today's environment that's tricky. So obviously, basically a lot of what we do is done on spreadsheets, and so essentially we try and find the sale price point that we're trying to hit. both wholesale and what the MSRP would be. And then basically we just kind of go through the spreadsheet and we use, whatever tools, whether it's Terapeak, Alt, whatever it is, to establish the comps. And, it, I we don't necessarily have a hard and fast rule that like it has to be within a certain number of days or anything like that. But we're experienced enough that we can take a look at a card and assuming that there's been multiple sale, if it's something fairly common, like let's just say like a Corbin Carroll rookie card PSA 10, from like Topps Chrome, something like that.
Mhm.
There's going to be multiple sales, and it's pretty easy to determine what that card is worth, what's a fair
Mhm.
value of it. But I think and then we build the product just based on an aggregate of those comps, and we figure out
Mhm.
what the sale price is going to be. But in my opinion, this is, I guess, where it's a little controversial, I guess, but like if I'm being perfectly honest, and this may come out the wrong way in that I'm supporting things that maybe people don't agree with, but I do think to a certain degree it's unfair, the amount of focus that's been put on exact comps when talking about repack specifically,
Mhm.
because this market that we're in is volatile. Cards. You take a look at someone like Mac Jones, who maybe 3 weeks ago
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Today, Mac Jones has been benched 3 games in a row, and his cards go, or anybody, Wander Franco, Giddy, like any of these bad things
Mm.
can happen, whether they're
Mhm.
playing bad or whether they're bad people or did a bad thing or something like that. So the comps are volatile, and I think that like we've been kind of painted in a corner because a lot of these bad actors made repacks that didn't have the value in them. And so then we were almost forced to start announcing these floor, ceiling, average type things, which, I don't believe them when people say them for the most part. I think that they're normally going to be generous in the seller side. And I think buyers need to be aware of that. What I truly prefer, guarantee what you're going to guarantee, the item itself,
Mhm.
and put together a quality product at a fair price. And, you know, I can't speak to the fact that, if I made a product 3 weeks ago and there's a nice Mac Jones in it that has
Mhm.
dropped 75%,
Yeah.
it's tough. And then, I may say that the floor was a certain amount and now a card in it has dipped below that. And, you're just never going to be right. You're never going to
Mhm.
be accurate, as honest as you're trying to be. And I think the more people focus in on the comps of it, they're just looking for a reason to be. I don't know. It's almost like they're hunting out controversy or a reason to be disappointed. And unfortunately, the situation is with a lot of these people making them who maybe don't have like the credibility or even the integrity that should be making a repack product. Because of that, it's put someone like myself. Honestly, I think we operate with the highest integrity. I think we give great value. I'm not going to say we're the best, but I know what I'm putting out there. I stand behind. Literally, I call it Roto Box. It's my last name. I mean, my name is on the thing.
Yeah.
You know, and if people, if I make a mistake or anything like that, people can find me. But I think, I think if the focus was put more on just delivering a quality product at a good value and build a good reputation based on that, then comps become less important.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. That's kind of, maybe I got off topic there,
Mm.
but like that's just the second you start assigning dollar amounts and
Yeah.
values to things,
Yeah.
that's when it goes from collecting to gambling. Which I
Right.
understand there's a gambling aspect,
Right.
but I don't want people trying to hit the $5,000 jackpot. I want people trying to hit that really cool, unique card. And if you can sell it for $5,000, great. And if you sell it for $3,000, great. But I just want you to get a card that you're happy with. That's the main thing to me. So I don't know.
No, I
Maybe
really appreciate us going down this because, it's clear you're really passionate about it and it is your livelihood. Like, you went from doing this like part-time to now this is full-time for you, right? So
oh yeah,
I really appreciate your candid response here. So I I can see what you mean by it going from collecting to gambling and, and you want people to try to hit that unique card. So, this was a question I was maybe going to ask later down the road, but since we're here, I just wanted to ask, like, for a collector and to not focus too much on the comps and to just for the collector themselves, the pure collector, for example, those folks tend to just buy the cards that they want and the players that they want, right? So,
sure.
what would you say, if this was your pitch to a collector to get into repacks, like,
Mhm.
because they're in their heads, they're like, oh, I'll just, if I have $200, I'd rather buy it on the exact card that I want as opposed to a repack. So, what would you say to that?
My thing I would say would be buy that card. Don't buy a repack. That would be what I would say. Would be if there's a if we put out a run of 200 boxes and there's one Patrick Mahomes in it that you really want,
Hmm.
and the price of that card is in the neighborhood of the repack product, go buy that card. Like
Hmm.
that's what you should be doing. It really. Repack to me, it should be a form of entertainment. It should be something, it should be something where people like the surprise factor. There's a what is it,
Okay.
the endorphin rush of
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna get. And but and if you have that specific want, then always the answer is go buy the single. That's me who makes and sells a product. I'm telling you, don't buy it. If that's what you want, go buy the single. And that's what you should do. And that's how you should build your collection. But if you want to do something different, you want to have a little fun and you want to get something cool, then check out Repack, because your value is just stronger across the board than
Okay.
anything you're going to get from any sealed product, whether it's a good
Wax
repack
too.
or even a bad repack. The worst repacks still provide better value than anything Topps or Panini does, and that's
So,
that's the fact,
yeah.
in my opinion.
Um, so maybe folks who are more risk seeking, less people who are risk averse, should, I no, that's really interesting. Yeah, can I
Well,
just ask you, do you buy raw cards too or just slabs?
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got a pretty constant stream of we do a lot of our own grading, so we've become really SGC has kind of become the repacker's best friend.
Mm,
They're reputable, they're timely, their cards sell strong at this point. They're not PSA, they're not going to sell for PSA prices, but they are outselling Beckett in a lot of cases right
yeah.
now. And um, I send them out an order of 150 cards. I'll have them back in my hands graded in 2 weeks. I mean, it's unbeatable. So if
Hmm.
I'm trying to produce a product and there's a time constraint, like PSA is not an option
Gotcha.
in a lot of
So,
cases. But yeah, we'll buy raw.
so when you say we do our own grading, you buy the raw, but every card in your box in your Roto box is a slab, is graded.
That's inaccurate.
I'm so sorry. No, I'm just trying to learn.
Yeah, no, you're good. So kind of I've always just a personal preference. I don't really like using raw chrome cards in the product.
Okay.
It's just something that I've tried to avoid. I'm not going to say I
Uh-huh.
never use them,
Uh-huh.
but I I feel like there's a kind of people assume that because it's a raw chrome card there's
Yeah.
something wrong with it,
Right.
and I'd rather just not deal with that now
Okay.
personally. And this is where you kind of got to have your own policies and beliefs on this. But let's say I send a card that looks good to me and it comes back an 8 or whatever, which is maybe people don't want an 8.
Uh-huh.
But what that's where it becomes kind of like an ethical question. What do I do with let's say I get an Otani auto and I send it off and it grades a 7, and it's an ultra mod. Obviously it's ultra modern because it's
Yeah.
Otani. What do I do with that 7? Do I crack it out and then put it in my product and then give people someone's going to see it and say, "Oh, I want to grade this," because a 10 would be worth so much more.
Mhm.
There's no real, I can't like write a note saying like, "Hey, this graded a 7," and put it in the
Mm.
box that way.
Yeah.
So, I tend to just grade them. And if it comes back a poor grade, send it out. And then, that way they know, hey, we subbed it. It was a 7. And, we obviously use it at a discounted value. But and that's on like Chrome stuff. So we'll put in the low graded Chrome autos because I don't want people to waste their money subbing it if there's something wrong with it,
Mm.
and at least
Okay.
then they know the conditions it's in. But then there are cards like, let's say like a flawless or an NT type RPA, which generally don't grade particularly well, and
Mhm.
they kind of come out of the pack. I guess a good example would be like black football. It's a black card, so you get the whiting around the
Yeah.
edges.
Yep.
Everyone's
Yep.
pretty familiar with that. I'm
Right.
not going to waste my time grading it. People understand, I think, for the most part, why we wouldn't have graded that particular card.
Yeah.
So that type of stuff, we'll encase it and that's put it in a one touch basically, or we've now got an agreement with Mag Pro with Zion cases. We're looking forward to rolling those out too. But
Shout out, I guess,
shout
or
out,
not a
man.
sponsor, but no,
No.
that's great. So I remember Upper Deck Black, from the early the 2000s area, and then now I know when you say black, you're talking about like Topps Chrome Black and things like that.
Well, I was thinking
Um,
more like Panini Black
Panini,
football.
I'm sorry, yeah, there's noir and black, right?
Yep,
Uh, Two questions I had before we get to like the packing process.
sure.
Because you mentioned football. Which sports are the most popular for you to buy and that customers want? And then do you have a cutoff in year of product when it
Uh,
comes to the cards that you purchase and pack?
Good questions. So we were basically founded as a baseball group. Baseball's my passion.
Hmm.
Like I said, first product we broke was 2016 Bowman's Best Baseball. I love baseball. I like football. I love baseball. So
There's only
primarily we.
one. Sorry, I usually don't interrupt, but I gotta say, Roto Breaks. It is from your last name, and Roto
Yeah.
Box is from your last name. But we all know when it comes to fantasy, rotisserie style is really baseball, rotisserie baseball, fantasy baseball. So
Yeah, I kind of lucked out with the name there. It works. It's synonymous with sports. People hear
right,
roto, they think either sports or sewage. So I mean,
Roto Rooters.
yeah, yeah.
You're are
So
aren't you the heir to the Roto Rooters empire? Isn't that
I,
true? I heard
I
no.
wish we wouldn't be talking right now. I'd be chilling.
You'd be
No, but
chilling. So
but
baseball is your passion, and but
mhm. So primarily we buy baseball and football. We do very limited basketball. We do a
mhm,
couple like multi-sport type things, but like basketball is just, it's tough, man. Like, right? Like basketball is either like all people want or they have no interest in it whatsoever.
mhm,
Whereas baseball is the most steady. I think baseball's got the most predictable collector base, I think,
mhm.
would be the way I would
Okay,
put it. And then football is just, it's a very easy it's very easy to know what people want with football, which
quarterbacks.
yeah, quarterbacks, which
Yeah.
I'll show you something if we have time.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean we focus pretty much on quarterbacks,
Okay.
and yeah.
And then from a year standpoint, are you doing any pre-Panini stuff?
Oh
Anything
yeah.
from like say the early Panini 2016, 2017? Are we talking like really just kind of like 2020s?
No, we do, with baseball. Baseball, it's a lot of fun. I love vintage stuff and people love vintage stuff. So we put a lot of vintage baseball
Mm.
in the product. And that helps us kind of round out the teams where maybe it's a little more difficult to, maybe they don't have uh current play. Let's take the Pirates for instance. We got O'Neal Cruz, and he
Mhm.
sells, okay, but even a player as great as Key Brian Hayes, who is a player that I love, he
Mhm.
doesn't sell that well.
Yeah.
So it's really, you can find a nice Clemente, uh, from 1962 or whatever, and like a PSA 7, and
Mm,
that fits in our kind of range, and people
mm.
are ecstatic. I get the
Mm.
Pirates, I have no hope, and then all of a sudden I got a Clemente, or there's a million examples like that. But yeah, we'll use vintage. And then for football, I mean, yeah, Brady rookies were 2000. Peyton Manning was 98. So we use rookies of like from the 80s, 86 set, like Jerry Rice, Joe Montana earlier than that. Marino rookies, Elway rookies.
Okay.
We use vintage. The stuff that I found has not gone over particularly well would be like football cards from like the 70s. Like I
Oh
don't know,
yeah,
for some
vintage. You're
reason,
right.
uh, they're not that excited about George Blanda. Um,
Well, it's in the name, bland.
it's very
Bland.
bland. I
Duh.
made a mistake and bought some George Blandas and put them in. Well, he's a Raider. I mean, a Raider is another team that's it's tough to hit them. I mean,
Mm,
so George Blanda. Fun fact, had the longest NFL career ever. He was the
yeah, yeah,
longest Hall
right.
of Famer. Was a quarterback, Super Bowl
Like
champion. Did a lot of
47,
good.
48. I mean, like
Yeah,
yeah, something crazy. I
but the
read it
people don't
recently.
care. They just don't care about George Blanda anymore,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's a crime. But we've kind of stopped using the more vintage football. It just doesn't have the same romance to it that the baseball does.
That is like really. I've heard that from some of my really good hobby friends. Is vintage football is like completely just. It's never risen to anything close to baseball and even arguably basketball. So, but
Sure.
no, thank you. So, man, we are at the 40, we're past the 45-minute mark. I want to do packing, I want to do shipping, and I want to get into the questions from Instagram. This might have to be a two-parter. I don't know, but here's the thing. Let's get into it's actually a really nice dovetail because you talked about if you like you didn't use a term, but I'll use it. If you skunk in a break, if you don't hit anything and you have
Mhm.
maybe that Roto box in there to save you. So when you have these Roto boxes, are they meant to be standalone products or in conjunction with a break? Do you send it to only to your Roto breakers, like your team of breakers? Do you sell these to other breakers who are on, whatnot, loop, drip, and all that?
So it's been an interesting journey. We've done it all. Really, we've done it all. When I started doing them, it was a totally random hit format, and I made 50 boxes or 100 boxes. You paid the price, and everybody got a box, and that was it. We just opened them all live, and that was how it began. Did that for a couple years, and then a basically a breaker, a large breaker who I'm not going to name them. They're
Okay.
definitely not a sponsor, but a large breaker reached out to me wanting to. They were doing a big Super Bowl break, and they were like, "Hey, I've been watching what you've been doing. Could you make one of these for me?
Mhm.
Um, I want to include it in the Super Bowl break." And so I made a case. It was the first time I ever made a case. I took 10 boxes at the time
Mhm.
and made them up, did the best I could, sent it out. The group really liked it. And then he said, "Hey, can you make me 10 more of those?" I was like, "Okay, sure." So I did that, and they were designed to be like a case break product. So it was
Okay.
like its own case. So it was 10 hobby boxes, my own
Mhm.
hobby boxes. And the packaging was very crude. I mean, it looked nice for the time, but
At the
not
time.
what it does today.
Nowadays, yeah.
Yeah. So we did that. So then I had a couple other breakers reach out to me because of the exposure I got from that breaker, and then started kind of making like product runs. So I would make like 50 cases of a particular thing, and
Mm,
then it was designed to be like a case break, or you could open it up and sell individual boxes. Uh, it's never really sold particularly well in a hobby shop, which is interesting. I think there's a big education component there where it's kind of tough for them to sell up to this point. So
mhm.
so they were designed to do a case, but then also we do I do have my breakers and then also myself where we'll do events. We're pretty much exclusively on Loop at this point, but we'll do events on Loop where it's a series of packs, and I kind of view these, despite the fact that they have the same Roto Box name, I kind of view those a little bit differently. So we've got two different things. Basically, we make a product which is kind of more intended for distribution, and then
Mhm.
we'll do like pack events, which is kind of more like someone who does it great is like pull wax, pull packs. Those are they're huge events. I've never gone through and comped them out. They seem like people really enjoy them. People love them. They sell a ton. So it's kind of more that type of event where there's like, okay, we've got these 50 or 100 packs. We're going to sell these out tonight. Someone's going to hit this chaser tonight. You're going to see all the cards tonight. So we kind of
Mm.
do both. What we're shifting towards is creating actual product lines, a la National Treasures, Flawless, whatever. We're trying to create product lines that will have a incremental release where we'll do a series 1, series 2. Our first of which I will show you this because why not? I'm on here. So
Yeah.
like our first one that's coming out, this is kind of a sneak preview. So this is going to be
Mhm.
called Under Center. It's going to
Okay.
be an all
All
product.
quarterbacks, yep.
So one graded or encased card per pack. So we're going to start releasing. We're starting with Under Center, then we're moving into a baseball, which is going to be double play, and so on and so forth. But basically, those are going to be designed to be wholesaled, hopefully in the LCSs, and other breakers
Interesting.
will break them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, c
So
yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
Um, when it comes to these boxes, every box you've made since the beginning, because when you're talking about these hobby boxes, 10 hobby boxes in a case,
Mhm.
was there ever a time where there was more than one card, or has it always been one card per one box?
Oh yeah, we've done a lot of different things. Honestly, we did. I once tried a thing called uh, Roto Box Bowman Chrome RTA, which was Roto Team Advantage, where I tried to emulate Bowman
HTA.
Chrome's
Yeah,
HTA product
yeah.
and put 3 graded Bowman Chrome autos in a box. And then in a case of 6, so you got 18 graded Bowman Chrome autos.
Mhm.
That did really well. It became a little difficult to source because of just the number
Okay,
of graded Bowman Chrome autos we needed that didn't suck.
got it.
So we've done 1, 2, 3. It just we've kind of landed on one because
Okay.
it's easy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I totally understand and appreciate the reasoning for different I know you're not calling them SKUs, but in my head like SKU like
There's SKUs. Yeah.
yeah, it's almost like you have some for ones to be distributed out and then some for events.
Hmm.
My understanding, and I got this wrong in the beginning, there is a difference between repacks and mystery packs because there are these shows, streams where every single pack will be shown on camera in that one time.
Hmm.
Versus repacks, you can have a case and that whole thing may not be opened all in one 3-hour stream, for
Sure.
example. We also
Um,
know yeah, go ahead. So what do you think
no,
about
yeah, I don't know that they're different, but
okay,
they are.
okay.
They are considered different, but it's just kind of more. Uh, yeah, I don't. It's tough to kind of differentiate them, but basically, when we do like the mystery pack events, they're designed to be done in house. Like I wouldn't,
Uh-huh.
and generally, I would say those are going to present a better value
Okay.
because they're typically being done by us. So they're normally kind of an even, like a neutral EV proposition for the buyer.
So
Um,
that yeah, so that was gonna be my question. Is there a difference in value when it comes to the ones that are distributed versus the one that are in-house? But you're saying they are kind of like there's even more value in the ones that you all are doing but yourselves on a stream with your breakers.
I would say generally, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
because just look at it as when you're buying a repack, you just got to kind of look at it. How many mouths were fed along the way
Mhm.
to this being opened, and then that should kind of set your expectations. Um, so you're coming to my stream to buy my repack. Okay, you know that I make this. So
Mhm.
you know that in theory, uh, yeah, we're going to account for platform fees, shipping, that sort of
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
But other than that, like there's if you're buying correctly and running a professional operation like we are,
Mhm.
there's no reason that those packs should be sold for 150% of the value. There's
Got it.
no reason.
Okay.
Platform fees and shipping, sure, 110, 115, maybe 120 depending on what's going on, but like it should be a uh pretty tight window there when you're buying it in a mystery pack event. Now the now that said, there's a lot more and there's a lot more expense that goes into a product that say we would distribute. So let's say I'm selling Badger Breaks is a very good friend of mine, and they break a lot of our products. So
Mhm.
so when I make a product for Badger Breaks and then I sell it to them, and then I sell it to him, and then at that point, basically all of those costs, have to be accounted for. It is a business that they're running. He has a shop in Wisconsin. There's overhead, there's employees that have to be paid, there's shipping, there's all of that.
So
So
more
there's
downstream.
yeah, so they do need to make money there, or else they can't
Yeah.
provide the service that their customers want. But when you're buying it directly from me, in a mystery pack event, like, those costs in theory should kind of be taken care of, I think, on the buy side and then on the assembly
Right.
side.
Okay.
Um, where it gets a little tricky is, let's say this product like Under Center, which is, releasing later this month. Um, let's say we're doing a 200 box run and we've wholesaled out 150, and then, we're
Mhm.
keeping 50 for the Roto Breaks customers. Now, essentially, I have to, obviously, I have employees to pay too. And I need to keep the MSRP in line with what the other breakers are selling it for. So I
Mhm.
can't really undercut people that I'm wholesaling to. So, so it gets a little bit trickier, but yeah, I mean, the customer should expect the best value from those mystery pack events.
Got it.
Whether they're getting it, I don't know, but
Would
they
would you
should.
say those mystery packs for those events are more recently comped too, because they're like almost like sealed and ready to go as opposed to like shipped, and then you don't know when, again, he's not a sponsor and Loop's not a sponsor, but like Badger Breaks, you don't know when he's going to be doing his stream, and you don't know if they're all going to sell out, right? I mean, those boxes could be sitting with him. Again, we were talking about 3 weeks of Matt Jones, right? I mean, in 3 weeks, that value could tank or rise.
Yeah, it goes both ways. It could have a CJ Stroud in it, who, preseason, all the talk was, kind of more focused on like what's Bryce Young going to do. Like, yeah, and CJ Stroud, you know, wasn't the hottest name coming into this season. So
Mhm.
I mean, he was obviously top 10 pick or whatever, and people were somewhat high on him, but um, you could have that too. I mean, that certainly happens as well. It's just football's just so volatile. So, but if you're buying into a mystery pack event and there's a ton of Jimmy Garoppolo's in it,
That's a problem.
you, yeah, I mean that's not relevant. That's a negative. If I bought into like a mystery pack event that was designed to be sold out that day, and I was
Mhm.
hitting, you know, and I hit, say, a Wander Franco
Yeah.
today,
It
I would
would be
never buy
tricky.
from that person again. Like I
Right,
would just
right.
be like, this person is using this to dump
Dump.
undesirable cards.
Right,
They're
right,
not
right,
they're not specifically curating this product with
right,
care, which is
right.
how it should be done, in
Yes.
my opinion.
No, that's a really good point. You want long-term customers. You want people to come back. You want people to see the value so that you, like you said, like you want to run a business with integrity like that. And you said your name is on those boxes, Roto. So I totally see that, that you want to provide that value.
Yeah.
I think there are people who want to maybe make huge margins, and people see how, you know, other people do it, and they think it's easy money, and it's such a short-sighted way to just kind of, if you shortchange people, it's short-sighted, and you're not going to have a long-lasting business, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to, to sound, hate to put it this way, but yeah, I mean, they say you can shear a sheep many times, but you can only
Mm.
skin them once. I mean, it's
Yeah, I yes. Um, so I want to talk about the shipping too. I mean, it's in a way we've been talking about it, like, you're shipping, you're distributing, you're moving the product within in-house and also outside. There's a lot of talk about the transparency and checklists. And so I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you, is that something you do? Like, I really have never bought a Roto Box. Let me be very clear. I said this really early on.
A lot of
When
people
when I
haven't.
when I have had when we agreed to do this with short notice, like, shout out to Stock and Trade for telling me your name, and I know he's a newer breaker under the Roto brand, I guess, and in Loop,
He's
or
not under our brand. He just
ah,
no, no,
send him
he's
some stuff.
someone I met recently,
Okay,
and he did for his first loop stream. We
ha-
just had a conversation.
had Roto
Um,
Boxes.
we just had a conversation, and he wanted something to break.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
And so we made him
okay,
a set of kind of a mystery pack event that we did in a very short
yeah,
time. We're a pretty
awesome.
agile little
Got
business,
it,
so but no, he doesn't work for me.
got it, got it, got it.
I don't. I would love him to, but he doesn't. So
Yeah, so but no, shout out to him for tagging you on the original Instagram post, and but yeah, I've never bought from you. We're not having you on for any pay for play. Like, some people think that I either pay guests or they pay me for being on this podcast. You pay me with your time and your knowledge and information, and I should have been really clear with that up front.
I was offered
Because
no payment for this.
yes, exactly. So but so having said that, I've never seen your product, like, physically in hand. When it
Sure.
comes to the um this whole the transparency and the checklist, and you said not many people do. Like,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on that subject matter?
I love it. So the irony. So I did an event. Actually, the shirt's from that event. So I did an
There you
event
go.
at the Mint Collective with Zion cases where we threw a big party to
Hmm.
launch. We had a new packaging for Roto boxes, and I was very excited. It was going to be a high end offering, and at the time, I had a very good relationship with Fanatics. And I threw this party. People had a good time. There was a lot going on there. We unveiled the product. People were impressed. Blah blah blah. The next day, I get a phone call from Fanatics telling me, "Hey, we need to talk about your Roto boxes. This is how you have to do them moving forward. There needs to be stated floor and ceiling. There needs to be a checklist. There needs to be all these different transparency things, which weren't things that I've ever had to do. Basically, I was selling to, I developed it's not the biggest reputation. Not everyone knows who we are, but I tell you what, the people that do know who we are, like you're just not gonna hear a bad thing about it. We put a lot of work in it. Maybe someone didn't get, you know, the best card in the run, but they know the values there, and I've worked really hard to have that reputation within people who know what we are. So they tell me all these things about checklists, ironically, because their checklists are never right. It was ironic that they were coming to me demanding that I make my checklists accurate, which is funny because now on their platform, they have all kinds of repacks on there that none of them have a checklist. But at that time, I said, you know what? Why not? Why not put a checklist out? So then I did start issuing a checklist with every
Hmm.
product that we're making, with the exception of one because it's a little difficult because it's kind of a ever repopulating thing that we do on Loop. It's called an Aria box. It's basically a break in a box where it contains 6 to 8 hits plus multiple hobby packs in it as well. And it would just that would be complicated because we'd have to keep replenishing it over and over and over again.
Mm.
Just wouldn't line up. But when we release a product like Under Center, um, on rotobreaks.com, you will see every single card that's used. And
Okay.
and and to me, if I'm providing a checklist that tells you, all the information about the card, what is the card, what's it graded, everything about it. To me, not, like to me, that does so much more for the customer if they take
Mhm.
advantage of the information that's being provided. That does so much more than me saying the floor is $30 and the ceiling's 5,000 and the average is whatever. Like,
Mhm.
I'm telling you that, but putting out a checklist is proving that. If you want to
Right.
go out and comp every single
Right.
card, you can. I'm giving you all the information to do it.
Right.
And if you buy the product with access to the checklist and you are upset, at least then, in my opinion, that's your fault, not mine.
I
I
see.
am telling you every possible thing that could be in this box.
Got it.
So I love it. So we have since then put out a checklist for everything we do, whether it's a mystery pack event. And again, not affiliated with Pull Wax either, but they do a checklist for all of their pull packs, and I love it.
Mhm.
It's great. It if you're providing a checklist, and what more can you do? Um,
Right.
like, it's,
So you said you had a good relationship with Fanatics. You guys still cool, right? You guys good? The silence. Okay. So I didn't mention the
I'm
for
I like the direction that my business is heading, and it does
okay.
not involve them.
All right.
I just again, it's. I don't mind saying it. It's a question of value to me.
Mhm.
I've opened thousands of cases of product from
Mhm.
them, and that was part of the motivation in making a repack to begin with.
Yeah.
Um, I know that, yes, there are Ethan Salas superfractors in,
3 of
you
them.
know,
Are you saying
there's
you
at
you don't
least,
you don't have 3
yeah,
one-of-ones in your products, do you, of the same player?
I don't. I don't. I know that these lottery tickets exist, and I can't provide that. I can't.
Mhm.
However, um, our just the ROI across the board, there is literally
Mm.
nothing that they could do that could give even half as good a return as we do. There is nothing they could do,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
I think wax prices are outrageous right now. I
Mhm,
think
mhm.
there's no value in any product. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm just not doing it, to be honest with you. So
Jonathan, or Mr. Roto, Mr. Talented Roto right here. Do you remember that guy? Fantasy football, Jonathan Berry or
oh yeah.
Matthew Berry. Oh my goodness, Jonathan Berry.
Yes.
Man, I used to play so much fantasy football and basketball back in the day, and I now I just have cards. Um, I think we talked enough about the shipping process, or not enough, but like we wove it into the packing and shipping. And thank you for
Mhm.
kind of letting me know. You have different channels and distribution, and streams, streams, video streams, and also streams of. Okay. Anyway, um, talking about price of wax, I think brings me to a really great. I don't have segments in this podcast, but I know some people like make this funny sounds like questions from Instagram. Pew, pew, whoa. Okay. So exactly. Thank you. The first question has to do with price of wax. So
Mhm.
this is from Pancake Analytics. His question is: wax prices are increasing across the board, while the individual product in wax is decreasing at a higher rate.
Sure.
Do you feel, as the repacker, do you feel repacking the product and creating a better value is enabling the card manufacturer to release inferior products? What do you think about that question? I can read it again if you want.
No, I don't think that. I
Okay.
think sheer I mean, it's a power. They're a powerful company. They're releasing inferior products because they can. They have no reason not to. They have no reason not. They have no reason. Cage. I don't know I'm sure you know Cage, but I
Shout
mean,
out.
Cage put it best. They have no incentive to be better,
Hmm.
and I don't think that the fact that we can repackage those cards and deliver a better value. The only thing that is doing for Fanatics is helping to prop up the limping hobby that they've created. Is
Mm,
we're returning some value and some liquidity to the people who still get in these breaks and
hmm.
still get their asses kicked. they can come back to us and get something cool and kind of
Yeah.
save the day. And then they don't exit the hobby. That's what we're doing. So, yeah, I
Wow.
guess in a way, we are allowing them to create inferior products because we're keeping them in the hobby by giving them something good. Um,
I thought this was a really good question, but it was a really hard one because it's good because it really talks about what the underlying, the price of wax and the price of, the singles and all that. But it's also almost like projecting, right? You're almost being asked to like think about what this other entity or person is trying to do. But I think you handled that one really well. So thank you. I really like your answer to that.
Thanks.
Um, Desert Heat asks, what price point are you trying to reach with your ROI?
Rephrase that.
Yeah, I will have to project Desert Heat's intent of question, but I think
Okay.
maybe it's like talking about margins or percentage. Like, you said you derived earlier in this. I can't believe it's over an hour here now, but and this will definitely have to be two parts at this
It's a
point.
big
But
topic.
yes, it is. Um, when you have your margins, people can either
Uh-huh.
make their margins from the buying side or the selling side. It seems
Uh-huh.
like the way you were answered earlier, you're doing it on the buying side because you're buying
Yeah.
at lower comps than what Cblez was saying. So maybe what Desert Heat is trying to ask is, what do your margins look like? And it's kind of tough because now we may be talking percentage or numbers, and that can be your business, and you don't want to divulge it. But to the extent that you're comfortable, how would you answer that?
I have no problem answering it, to be honest with you. So like I told you before, like in an ideal world, we're able to buy every card at 70% of market, or
Hmm.
70% of what fair comp would be. So
Yeah.
it's a $100 comped card. I want to get that card for $70. That's my target.
Okay.
You factor in expenses, packaging, like the boxes aren't cheap, the packs aren't cheap, the heat tunnel wasn't cheap, the graphics design isn't cheap. These are all things we have to pay for. So let's
Hmm.
say that eats up, you know 10 to 15%. I think
Okay.
is pretty fair. If I sell that, I'm not going to divulge the exact answer, but a single
Yeah.
digit markup versus comp is what we're selling to on wholesale. So if we
Hmm.
start at 70% in an ideal world and we sell it at a single digit markup, we take away 10 to 15% for expenses. I feel like in order for me to operate and continue to scale and grow, we need to make about 20%. However, in my
Hmm.
opinion, that the onus is on me to be great at one of two things. I either
Mm.
need to be great at acquiring these cards at a good
Mhm.
price, or I need to be great at tricking people into buying these when they're a worse value for a higher price. So I am not great at selling a shitty product. We are great at buying correctly. So
That's right.
we're trying to make our money on that side and then deliver a good product and have people sell it, and that's how we do it. So I would say 20% is what we're looking to make off of every dollar that we're spending.
Yeah.
Um, and other people look to make it on the other side, and they're
Mhm.
successful in that.
Yeah.
And I got nothing but jealousy and envy for people who can do that. It's just not something that we've been able to do. So we have to buy well and we have to sell fairly, and that, yeah, 20%, I guess, would be my
Awesome. No, wow. Thank you for being so refreshingly honest with that. So R Clark 512 asks, he asked a bunch of questions. I'm gonna ask the best one out of it because
okay.
my understanding is, every repacker can do it differently, but do you evenly spread return across the case, or do you have like one major hit and the rest are like below comps or average? So I won't say who it is, but I may have them on the podcast. But some other repackers, they do this thing where if you have a case of 10, four of them are like right around comps, plus or minus 10, $50. And then you have, or, it depends on the price of the product, I guess, or the SKU. But four out of the 10 are like right around comps, three are below comps, and then three are above comps, kind of like a 3-4-3 type of thing. Um, how do you spread? So the original question from R. Clark is, do you spread the value evenly, or is it kind of like a one major chase and then like some that are like around comp level?
That's a great question because there's definitely different mindsets on that. There are I keep using them as an example, but they're probably one of the biggest ones. The pull wax when they do theirs, they have huge chases. I mean, they have very big cards, very cool stuff that it's amazing, and so it's very top heavy
Hmm.
when they do it, and they're upfront about that, and so I think that that's great. It's not my cup of tea to do
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
Um, I prefer kind of a flatter return, a little bit
Okay.
more,
Yeah.
in my opinion. So, I mean, I'll let you know exactly how I do it, and we do curate them all by hand. But let's
Hmm.
say when we make so the under center product that I've shown you the box for, that's just going to be loose boxes. They're not going to be cased. So it's going to be box number 1 through 200, and
Hmm.
that's that. So there's no balance. It's just the really good ones, the good ones, the okay ones, and the bad ones. So
Got
they're
it. All
whatever. You
right.
may get whatever. But when I do make a case or a series of cases, let's say we're making a football product that's designed to be in cases of let's say 6 boxes, 2 cards each, and we're going to make 20 cases. So we've got 240 cards to choose from. I will comp
Hmm.
them all out and basically put them in um, descending order of price. So we got our top card and we've got our bottom card.
Hmm.
Literally, what I'll do is I got my giant table. Is I will lay out cards 1 through 20. So the best card's here, and the 20th best card is here. That's going to be your worst case hit. So then your worst case hit is going to get the 21st valued card. And we snake draft it and then go back down. And so it's going to be based on comp. So the best card is going to have the best card, the second best card in that case is going to be the 40th best card in that run. And then the third best card is going to be the 41st best card in that run. So basically, it's almost like a fantasy football draft. I'm Roto, it would make sense that that's how we're doing it, fantasy style. But so I think that's certainly great if you want to go on a case by case basis and someone does it where 3 are over the value, 4 are at the value, and 3 are under the value. I haven't seen a lot of products that are that good, to be honest with you. So that's probably ambitious. But the way we do it is I just take the whole run and I just snake drafting it has been the most balanced way we can do it. And then once we get into kind of the bottom, 20 cards or whatever, that's when I'm just kind of looking to make sure we're not duplicating teams because a lot of them are meant to be, or a lot of them end up in like random team or pick your team breaks. And I'd rather not have double of the same team in there if possible. But that's kind of how we build them. So we want every case to be as even as possible. If that helps. You're muted again.
I have not had any mic troubles until episode, this might be 50 something, but um I want to thank you so much for this. For you to explain it in that regard was really cool. I think people could visualize it and it kind
Mhm.
of makes more sense. Um I I may have to make this into a one podcast episode because it's such a hot topic. I think I may just have this upload all and just kind of like release it as soon as possible because I think you shed so much good light into this. I also have to like go to the bathroom. So I have other questions that are on here. I just think I'm gonna have to we may have to have you on another time. But sports card nonsense, I'm gonna shout them out. They sent a really funny, nonsensical question, which is very them. I'm not gonna ask it, but they talked about Keebler elves, and so I thought, well, how many employees do you have? Um, maybe we can just get you out on that question. Where are you currently, and like where would you like to be going into, like, or like for the for 2024?
How many Keebler elves do I want
Yeah,
working
how
for
many?
me?
Yeah, yeah.
So right now I've got 4 employees other than myself,
Okay.
and we during kind of it's been kind of an adventure. So I've had as many as 10. and then
Wow.
we've kind of scaled as we've scaled back the breaking
Mhm.
side.
Okay.
Um, we've made we've had some departures,
Gotcha.
amicable, I think, but
Yeah.
just we're trying to kind of shift the direction into almost all Rotobox centric way. So right now we're down to
Mm.
four. I don't look at it as a number of employees that I want. Whatever we can. I want to employ as many people as I can and give them a fun, good living.
Right.
And so I'd love to have 100 people working for me that are all happy.
Right.
But I mean, right now I like the people that we have. You said you got to meet Nick.
Oh, yeah, at the
Super
National. XYB Nick? Yeah.
Yep, XYB Nick. His sister used to work with us, Breaks with
Oh.
Jess. I'm not sure if you the world famous Breaks with Jess. She used to work with us. Now she has on to bigger and better things. But
Oh,
we've got AJ and Rianne, and we're doing good. But
that's awesome.
yeah, we don't have too many. And then of course my secret
Silent
agent.
Bob. Yeah, Silent Bob.
And then Dave, of course, as well, does he's handling our breaks on Facebook. So we got a good
Awesome.
crew. We're not I'm looking to scale right now. We can, I had time to do this with you, so I got more
Yeah.
time to make more repacks. Until I don't, then we're not hiring anybody just yet. But if we can get to a staff of anywhere from 5 to 10, I think that's all
Yeah.
we really need.
Well, this is why I thank you so much for your time, and especially on short notice.
Yeah.
You have been so, I think, knowledgeable and all the history. Like again, like Comp Snoop or Snoop Dogg, whatever thing was called.
Card Snoop.
Um, that's just so awesome. So, and it's so funny, right? As we end this, I just 5 minutes ago you said something like on a case by case basis, and I thought that was hilarious because I'm like, these are cases of hobby of repack. So no, I want to say again, well, you've said it many times. It'll be in the show notes and the podcast description. Rotobreaks.com,
Yep.
with the S at the end, right?
Yep. We do
Rotobreaks.com,
more
and then
than one.
yes, you do more than one. You have rotobox.com, no S at the end. That is an X at the end. But not
The
Rotobox. Yeah,
rotobox.com.
yeah.
The
Oh, it is.
rotobox.com. So
Oh, see, I was.
rotobox.com is actually motorcycle wheels out of Germany or something like that. So the rotobox.com. As we launch our newer stuff with the
Yeah.
exciting new designs, all the checklists and all the wholesale information will be there.
That's
And
oh my goodness. That's so awesome. I was making a joke, but you actually do have it, so that's great. Jonathan, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hope. Thank you for doing the repacks, and we just had Small Business Saturday, and so thank you for being such a great small business in the hobby.
thanks for having me. And yeah, if there's a part two, you people have more questions, I'm an open book. I Transparency is the name of the game here as we head into 2024. So I just, I want people to know what we're doing. I want people to know how hard we're working to provide a good value, to provide a good experience. And, if people have more questions about what we're doing, I'm happy to come on again anytime.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Jonathan, Mr. Talented Roto. Until next time.
All right. See ya.
See you.